Welcome to the Bogosity podcast for the 28th of April, 2014. The podcast that's an ex-hangout. Yes, this was supposed to be our first ever live podcast going out on Google Hangouts on Air, and guess what? Didn't exactly work out like we planned, so we're just doing this straight live to recording, no editing or anything, so this is going to be a little more raw than we usually have it. But joining me again this week, we have Charles Thomas.
Hello.
And for the first time in quite a while, Dave Turcotte.
I think it's the first time this year, actually.
I think so, yeah, first time in 2014.
Yep.
This is your host, Shane Killian. I think I forgot to introduce myself here. See, this is what happens when we do it live.
Hello.
Oh, John's here.
Hello. John! Oh, okay. Jonathan O'Shea just joined us.
I've been here the whole time. I was trying to tell you I had Audacity going.
I didn't even see you on the screen. I haven't even popped up.
Well.
Oh, yeah, there you are. I see you.
Well, John Boy's here now, so.
That's what happens when it's live. Yeah, what happens is in order to do Google Hangouts on Air, which is really nice, and there's all sorts of features to it. There was like a Q&A I was going to do with whoever showed up, and then it automatically gets posted to YouTube afterwards. In order to do that, you have to have a YouTube account in good standing, which mine was last night. I checked. All of a sudden, this morning, it isn't. And I checked it, and I had like a few different creationist videos flagged.
Isn't it always the way?
Well, it's kind of weird because the creationists have kind of left me alone the last few years, and the timing of this is a little bit suspicious. I hear nothing about them until the morning we do a live broadcast, and then this happens and we can't do the live broadcast.
YouTube, fix your daggone DMCA thing.
Well, to quote Alex Jones, this must be a conspiracy.
Yeah.
I don't know. If it is, that's fine with me. I mean, in either way, it means we're making a difference.
Yeah.
That's how I see it.
When's the last time we even discussed creationism on this show?
Yeah, basically all we've been doing is bashing the Democratic Party when they're in power. I mean, it's not like they would have anything remotely against us, right?
I think the last time we actually
I've had statists false flag videos before.
I think the last time we've come close to bashing creationists on this show was the last time I was on the show when we talked about those sisters who fight ghosts or some nonsense.
Oh, yeah.
And a reality show that will last 16 seasons and such, which I guarantee you will. Where's the originality, people? What happened to it?
All right, so let's get into the news of the bogus. And this first one is one we've covered quite a bit. President Barack Obama, winner of the Nobel Peace Prize, is still keeping secret his legal justification for executing an American citizen without trial.
What
the greatest award. Yeah, the biggest irony of that award, since honestly, I haven't seen anyone who hasn't deserved an award like that. I mean, it's just amazing. When he actually got the Nobel Peace Prize, he made a speech on why America should be continuing at war, right? I was like, wait a minute, this must be some rib. They can't put so. And I know the history of Alfred Nobel, who created dynamite and what have you, but I mean, really?
Well, he created dynamite for constructive purposes, and it was only when it started being used as an instrument of war that he realized, what it was he'd created, and he made the Nobel Peace Prize.
Yeah.
Because of that, to kind of balance it out.
But I know, it just seems like it's just a plastic award. I mean, it's just like, I feel, really, it just depresses me that how people are just so, I mean, I voted for him, and I feel just really just terrible, what have you, but I feel like very disappointed. But then again, I live in a blue state, or what have you, so even if I didn't vote for him, it wouldn't have mattered.
Don't worry
but I'm in a red or a blue state, just depends on the election. It just kind of goes one way and then it goes the other.
I wouldn't worry about it too much, Duke. I voted for Lieberman, so.
And you admit it?
Listen, I was just in high school. I didn't know anything at the time. He's been around forever. I figured it was like the grandpa clause.
Yeah, he's gonna get in anyway.
Okay, if it's your first election, we'll excuse it, because I didn't exactly vote Libertarian in my first.
Yeah, I voted, actually, believe it or not, Kerry in my first one back in 2004. That worked out great.
I like that because I was doing a lot of, there was a big skeptic community on Pal Talk, and we were talking about all that. And at the end of the election, one of the guys came up and said, yeah, I voted for John Kerry. And I said, oh, so you wasted your vote? And he said, yeah. And I was like, yeah, I got one!
Yeah.
Yeah.
What to say about wasted vote later, though. But this is, just to give you the background, when U.S. forces killed Anwar Al-Awlaki, they tried to kill him on May 5th, 2011. They didn't, but they managed to get two others in the same car. They did kill him on September 30th, 2011, and he and a few of his associates were eating breakfast. They saw the drone coming, tried to flee in the car, and it got him. So they got Al-Awlaki and like 5 other people who happened to be with him at the time.
Isn't that for government work?
But I mean, they got him when he was like fleeing in his car, so that hardly sounds like an imminent threat or something like that. But
not to mention they killed his son too. But you know,
yeah, in a separate strike, yeah.
Well, it just always bothers me when you see the stuff, and I'm not against someone drones and what have you, and I'm not against the technology. But when someone does this and there's like, real, I want the evidence. If you're going to go after a person, I want the evidence to say this is the reason why, not like, oh, well, we know what we're doing, that sort of thing. It's just that always about that, because secrets like that are not good. They're never good.
If the guy's got a ballistic missile that is aimed to land on a U.S. city and he's setting it up and he's just about to press the button, then yeah, go ahead and take him out.
Yeah, but when you have like, okay, well, he's evil, he's declared against the United States, we have to take him out. Has he done anything? Has he supported any organizations like Al-Qaeda or anything else? No.
Well, that's the thing. All he did was preach and all he did was speak out, so he basically got killed for exercising his freedom of speech.
Yeah, that's really disturbing. And and the people who are cheering this is like, eventually that stuff's going to come, because people are actually claiming, last year when that former LA cop who was in California, when he would start killing, like, oh my goodness, they oh my gosh, he killed 2 police, a police lieutenant and his like daughter or what have you or something. And then the LA cops just went out and started killing. I mean, they shot up like these 2 innocent people in a truck that wasn't even close to the perpetrator of this car, and they're asking, well, maybe we should use drones. I'm like, are you kidding me? Yeah, because if I want to trust someone with drones, it'd be the LAPD,
right?
Because I mean, heck, by the time the day's over, I mean, half of Watts would be blown up. But hey, that's just me.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'd be surprised too the excuse makers that you see when it comes to this too. Like I remember a couple months ago there was a news story that came out about cops who were shooting at a van that had children in it, and I don't know what the situation was, but they were just recklessly shooting at the van. And we have on our local news station, we have this segment called Voice of the People. I've put it in fail quotes many times.
Oh yeah, I saw this, and there was one person, and the people said this is wrong,
and the people kept calling in and saying stuff like, "Well, if they weren't breaking the law and if they weren't bad people, this wouldn't have happened." You gotta love the excuse makers.
Our next story is going to get into that too.
When it gets to them, they're like, why did no one say anything? You know what? It's just like you reap what you sow. That's the thing. Mm. And when I look at this, when you read this stuff, Shane, go right ahead. It's just, it's just like, people who are just, very, ignorant of what's really going on. They just sit there and say, well, he was a terrorist and what have you. It's just, there's probably a lot more we got to get into.
Well, it just comes down to the fact that there is a massive double standard. What's good for the public sector is pure evil when done in the private sector. That's how it's always been, and for the foreseeable future, that's probably how it will be. But that's why...
rules for thee, then for me.
Yeah. See, these types of people were never taught what's good for the goose is good for the gander. But
yeah, it has always been. Like you said, it's always been this way. And the one thing I hope when this generation or what have you, when this thing will finally comes to light, people will be like, maybe we shouldn't be doing this. The public sector should not be getting away with doing all these things. And that's my final thoughts about this.
Well, it's like a story I put on Facebook not too long ago. This guy, he basically trapped his sister in a room for years, and they said it was like dungeon-like conditions, and people were absolutely horrified. I mean, they were like, this is inhumane, this is cruel. I said, what's the difference between that and jail? Really?
Yeah,
what's the difference
true.
between that and prison? You just give this guy a badge, and you call that room jail, and people would have said, well, if she didn't break his laws, then this wouldn't happen to her.
Mm. Yeah, well, the state can do it, but we can't. Because, we can, the reason why they can get away with it, because we can vote and what have you. They have special powers.
It's a social contract.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Social contract where they get.
But several times, groups like the ACLU have tried to get this information for the legal justification for his killing. Murder, really, I think is what it is, except it's not murder when the government does it, I guess. But they've been trying to get this under the Freedom of Information Act from the most transparent administration in history. And last year, U.S. District Judge Colleen McMahon said, quote, I can find no way around the thicket of laws and precedents that effectively allow the executive branch of our government to proclaim as perfectly lawful certain actions that seem on their face incompatible with our Constitution and laws while keeping reasons for their conclusions a secret. Well, last week, the ACLU and the New York Times won their appeal, and the three-judge panel ruled unanimously and said that the government waived its right to keep this information secret after making numerous public statements on the matter, including, you remember that white paper from the DOJ that we covered that back in February of 13, over a year ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do remember that.
Yeah, this is, I think, is interesting to say the least.
So we'll see if we can finally get some straight answers out of this administration. Personally, I wouldn't hold my breath.
Yeah,
we haven't got any we haven't got straight information from Bush administration, Clinton's, Bush one, what have you. I mean, when's the last time we actually got straight answers from any administration when they were in power?
But I think this is the first administration that's responded to a FOIA request by blacking out every single page in the document. We covered that too, and they just handed them blank sheets of paper, basically.
And what kills me about that is it's called a Freedom of Information Act, but it may as well be freedom of information when we decide it's worth giving to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing. And they always have this cover. It's like, well, it's for your national security and the war on terror, which is brilliant. It's like the war on drugs. Is that there's no real ending, and that the state can have more funding, what have you, and everything else. And probably does tie into the second story when I'll finish this little thing I'm going to link to. Because it's just amazing. Because people will always admit monsters and demons to slay, even when there are not even close to even demons and monsters out there.
Yeah.
Well, it's just one of those unfortunate things where nobody's ever going to know what really was going on in terms of, what they were thinking or what their quote-unquote justification was, unless you happen to be in the room that day when they pushed the button.
Yeah.